This is Stuff You Like, you can call me Ursa, and a lot of people ship Aziraphale and Kроули from Good Omens, which, if you recall, we were talking about in the last episode. Sometimes they ship them in a romantic but sexless kind of way, since angels are asexual unless they try really hard. And this is nice because there's not a lot of asexual representation in media. Well, I mean there's some, but not a lot. But in Good Omens, canonically, you have two characters who both have gender, sure, because they're both referred to as he, but who don't actually have a biological sex, but nonetheless are engaged in a relationship which, even if it's not romantic, is clearly very deep and meaningful to the both of them. But of course there is also the graphic slash fic, because angels do not have a biological sex, unless they try very hard. There are so many reasons that they are so beloved as characters and why they are a lot of people's favourites, and frankly this isn't much of an analysis episode, this is just a list of reasons, and a little bit of squee. So some reasons, in no particular order, why we love Az and Kроули. Well, the story of Aziraphale and Kроули is a story of two people on opposite sides who've realised that they're not really so different. Az and Kроули are both representatives of powers that they don't really understand, and in Kроuli's case don't really get on with. They're on Earth pretty much alone, and the closest thing that they have to an actual friend, someone who can commiserate with them over being a supernatural being on an Earth filled with humans, is their opposite number. We don't see Kроули and Aziraphale developing the agreement, it just comes to us as part of who they are, and that banding together in the face of management's ineffability is kind of endearing. That sense of shared similarity is everywhere in Good Omens. There are parallels between characters, there are parallels of those parallels, the good characters parallel the evil characters, the humans parallel each other, everything is parallel. The whole book is about how similar we are underneath the skin. And that banding together in the face of shared similarities and that development of relationship brings up another question. Is it possible for angels to love? Is it possible for fallen angels to love? And I think learning to love in the face of impossibilities is something else that we're pretty keen on. This question, can angels love, gets right to the heart of what I love best about Aziraphale and Kроули, and their relationship. It's this very Pratchettian ideal of embodied cognition and learned free will. Both Az and Kроули have been on Earth in human forms for a very long time, and they have learned from humanity. And one of the biggest things that they've learned is a little bit of free will, and I am really enamoured with the idea that they have decided to use this learning in order to care about each other. Now maybe this isn't so surprising from Kроули, he's a demon after all. You'd expect him to be tricksy. You'd expect him to grab whatever advantage he could from humanity, including learning about all of their selfish look out for number one ways. That is not the surprising thing about Kроули, but we'll come back to what's surprising about Kроуli in a minute. But for Aziraphale, for an angel, it does seem a little more unusual. I mean, aren't angels supposed to be innately pure and good and noble? Isn't the divine plan all that should occupy his mind? Why is he running a rare bookstore, and why is he so obsessed with rare books? But then again, he has been alone, the only heavenly rep for good on Earth for a very long time, and he has taken colour from his surroundings just as Kроули has. But still, Aziraphale developing a little bit of free will, a little bit of human self-centeredness and self-interest is kind of surprising. The surprising thing I mentioned about Kроули is not that he's had a crack at developing free will, or even that he's been a little bit successful at it. It's how developing free will has brought out his good side. I mean, yes, he still turns out the expected amount of evil, you know, Manchester, the M25, tying up every mobile network in Greater London for 45 minutes at lunchtime, but he has a genuine love of the world and of humanity, and of Aziraphale. In the book, at Warlock's birthday party, Aziraphale does a very, very terrible magic show and accidentally suffocates the dove which he was going to produce from his sleeve, and Kроули brings it back to life. And this is not even commented on, like, nobody makes a point of this in the story, it's just that Kроули brings this dove back to life. Though I do absolutely love the suggestion that one Patreon commenter made, which was that it used to be a peace dove, but now it mostly hangs around, like, places where people are getting divorced. Similarly, in the paintball game, nobody whose paintball gun turned into a rail gun actually died.
Oh, no one's actually going to get killed. They're all going to have miraculous escapes. Wouldn't be any fun otherwise.
Kроуli might have some skill at being a demon, but Kроуli is much less evil than he lets on. And I mean, seriously.
Aziraphale, deep down inside, you are just enough of a bastard to be worth liking.
If that's not a declaration of genuine love and affection, then I don't know what is. One of the reasons we love Aziraphale and Kроуli and their relationship, whatever it is because The reason they have a relationship is because they've become a little bit human. And as I said last time, good omens would like us to know that humanity is a good thing and human is a good thing to be. Also, that whole scene where they get hideously drunk and Crowley tries to explain the bird and mountain metaphor is just amazing and beautiful. Thanks for watching this "oh, it's so adorable, aren't they sweet" kind of rambling episode of Stuff You Like. We will be back next time with a more usual review type episode. In the meantime, liking, sharing, subscribing and patronizing. Those are all things you can do if you want to.